Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Each and every episode, we do our best to bring you fascinating guests. We've outdone ourselves this time. We have Pete Allman, who's going to talk about his ideas for a peace conference, hopefully to take place right here in Las Vegas. And if he looks a little bit like our president, it's because every now and then he'll do a great impersonation. We'll be calling on you for that. Nice to see you, Pete. Thanks for joining us. How did you end up doing this?
Well, Dale, it's been absolutely marvelous to be here with you in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to do great things. You are doing great things. We're going to make America better. Everything's going to be absolutely fantastic, Dale.
That's very good.
But the reality of being in Vegas is I was here many years.
Yeah, I know you were.
Various TV shows, Las Vegas Report and CMX Sports and Entertainment and the Las Vegas Hollywood Report. And while I was in Vegas, I was also a journalist and I also was an entertainer. And I left Vegas and went to Los Angeles and had some medical situations that I took care of. And since then, I've been producing movies.
Great.
But the movies I produced were very controversial. They were movies that made you think, but not movies that were faith-based.
Yes.
Marlon Brando Unauthorized was one of those movies that really dealt with the shadows of Marlon Brando, if you will.
Yeah.
And he was an interesting character, but he had a very sad life. And it dealt with his son killing the daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah, right? I remember that episode.
And so I produced that, and then I produced another movie that had to deal with the gangs, the drug gangs. The drug issue is still a big problem in the United States. That's why Donald Trump wants to do something. I don't think a wall is going to do the job. And the reason for that is because a wall is not going to stop drugs coming from in the tunnels and through the submarines that come from various parts of Mexico as well as Colombia. So there has to be another way to do that. More security, more Border Patrol would be a good idea.
Right.
Donald, who you've met and I've met, he's been here several times. I've met him in Palm Springs and I met him here and interviewed him. Did an endorsement for Celebrity Scene News, which is on the internet. You'll see that. You'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so you've been a Trump supporter right from the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always liked Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Now, I know that we're used to an eloquent speaker and very presidential, but here's a man that gets the job done that's very abrupt on some of the things he does.
Right.
And the main thing is that we make some changes. In making changes, as Donald would say, if people read the Bible and if people would go by some of the principles of the Bible, this society would be much better. Which is why I'm here today to talk about global peace.
Yeah, let's talk about your initiative here in a second, but if you don't mind, give us a little personal backstory on your faith. People who watch us all over the world are often surprised to realize that this is a Christian community in a lot of different ways, and there are entertainers like yourself, famous people who are Christians. How did you end up coming to Christ?
I ended up coming to Christ more than once. I was baptized 3 or 4 different times. And as I recall, as a young man, because I'm 70 now, but I feel like I'm young.
Yeah,
God
me
keeps
too.
me young. As a young man, I was baptized in Lake Tahoe. And from that point on, I had tried different churches, and I can't remember everything. But I was going to a church out here in North Las Vegas. But before that, I had come to Christ in Watts, which is the African American community in Los Angeles, and I used to sing gospel in the choir there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way before I was an entertainer here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But to be very frank, there are 4 times in my life that I should have been dead.
Really?
I have what we call narcolepsy, and when you drive a long period of time, you fall asleep.
Yeah.
And I've totaled out 4 cars.
Oh, no.
But each time that car was totaled, I never got a scratch. So hallelujah and praise God for that, because I could have been dead.
Sure.
I want to tell you another story out there that's very interesting, and that is one time I had to go do some interviews, and those interviews were down in Arizona in Scottsdale.
Oh, yeah.
I was interviewing some NBA players. And this is rather unique. I was not being responsible. I forgot my credit card. I didn't get a contract, and I was down there to interview some NBA players.
Right.
And while I was going down there, they had a hotel set for me. Well, when I arrived, there was no rooms. So the promoter at the time put me in a room with another lady who happened to be a Christian. And I ended up interviewing her, and that's on the internet now, and her name escapes me at the moment. But while I was down there in Scottsdale, I interviewed some great people, and I always like to do interviews and ask people, you know, when you have trouble and when you have stress in your life and through your careers, what is it that gave you the opportunity to overcome that stress? And many, many people will give their credit to God, that God gives them that inner peace, if you will.
Yeah.
So anyway, while I was leaving Arizona, I needed money. They wired me some money, and I was a bad boy. I gambled a little bit of money. And then I had a little left, and I'm driving home, and I go through Parker, Arizona. And at the time, I was falling asleep. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do? So I made a right turn, and I went down to the casino that was an Indian casino on the river. I cannot think of the name of it, but it's a beautiful place. Yeah. I walked in, and I said, ma'am, my name's Pete Allman, and you know, I'd like to do a story on your place, and I've got $40, and I'm falling asleep. Could you help me? I'd like to stay here. She went in the back room, came back. She said, Mr. Allman, you're our guest. And wouldn't even take my money.
Isn't that nice?
So praise God for that, too.
Yes. Yeah.
And even though God does answer all prayers, he may not do it just the way we want, but he answers your prayers.
Sure he does.
So those are just a couple of situations that happened in my life. I can tell you now that I never really had the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit in me.
Yes.
But now that I'm at Bel Air Church, which is in Bel Air, California, which is
Presbyterian church.
It's a Presbyterian church, but they call it Bel Air Church.
Right.
It's a very church of love where people come together. Ronald Reagan went there, his wife Nancy, until the day that they went to heaven in the past. And the Holy Ghost gets inside my spirit. It's something I can't explain. And I always tell people, the great thing about God and Jesus Christ, his son, is the fact that you can hear a radio and you know it works and you believe in it.
Sure.
But you don't see the electricity. Just because you don't see God doesn't mean he's not there watching over you and helping you. And I can guarantee you that when you pray and when you put your focus on God and when you read the Bible, when you can, and you talk them throughout the day, you will become a good disciple of God. And by becoming a good disciple of God, we go out and we have compassion and understanding to be able to communicate with people and to be able to help people in the busy lifestyle that we're in. Because people are so tied up in going out to get objects and achieve objects and find out later that they're not happy. And because they're not happy, because they don't have Christ inside their souls, inside their life to make a difference.
There's a hole in their hearts and only Christ can fill it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's a purpose for us to be on this planet Earth. And it is to be disciples. It is to take those lost souls and help those lost souls. And so that's what my mission is. And we'll talk about the Winds of Freedom and how that came about.
Right. That's wonderful. We're going to take a brief break, Pete, and then we'll talk about the Winds of Freedom Foundation, which you're very involved in. We want to talk about your Global Peace Initiative, and we'll continue to talk about Jesus because he's our favorite subject.
That's right. Amen.
We'll be back with Pete Allman right after these short messages.
Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world. A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas Tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I am your host, Dale Davidson. We're very pleased to have with us Pete Allman, who is a multi-talented man who spent quite a few years here in Las Vegas. He has since moved to L.A., but he's back in town promoting a global peace conference. Had an important meeting today about that subject. Tell us a little bit about the peace conference and how that came about.
Well, originally, for many years now, I know a gentleman named Alex Hazen. And Alex eluded from Soviet Union, which was communist at the time, some 33 years ago.
Wow.
They burned all the churches down.
Yeah.
There was no religion. It was communism.
Mm-hmm.
But Alex wanted a better life. And as a Jew, he eluded from there and went to New York, graduated from Maritime College, and he was always into music. So he created a concert, a symphonic concert, to a tribute to the human spirit, and it was at Carnegie Hall. That was about 25 years ago. I've known Alex for 12 years. And so Alex and I became good friends, and just a year and a half ago, he wanted to take that musical and add video to it to make it a documentary.
Oh, okay.
And educate people about how to achieve peace. Right off the bat, I want to tell everybody that to achieve peace, you must first achieve peace within yourself. Now, for those people that don't believe in God, certainly you could think about your children and the future of your children.
Sure.
If you're the kind to think about the Big Bang Theory. And you can do nature walks, you can do yoga, meditation, you got to think before you react. And so many people today, even in road rage, they get out, they hit somebody, they lose their tempers, and they feel bad after they do that. But if you think before you react, you'll do much better. Well, that's for those people. But really, that relationship, that peace that you have from within, has to do with trusting God, letting God guide you. And when you have a lot of temptation, and when you're in the entertainment field like we are, and especially the secular like I am,
Right.
you need that base of Bible study. You need that base of having good Christian friends to give you that strength, so that you don't end up going to gentlemen's clubs. You don't end up doing the things that are negative in your life, or the drugs that can be offered to you, because so many times that has happened in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
But no thank you to that. So what we did is create a documentary, and we had a peace conference with the Rotary Clubs of South Bay promoting that. And that was very successful. And I had Cy Richardson from Repo Man, Pushing Daisies Straight to Hell, who was my director on my next film, which we'll talk about. And we had Tom Halleck from the Young and Restless, Gangster Squad, and a group of other people talk about this. And really, the documentary that you'll see today, there's a sizzle reel with Leonardo DiCaprio, Dalai Lama, Bono, Snoop Dogg, and Angelina Jolie. It's a minute and a half, something like that. And it's a sizzle reel to show the 46-minute documentary, which talks about the overall history of what the world has gone through, basically.
Sure.
And with that, it's very educational. It should be in the educational system, which we want to implement. And through that and a Q&A, which is a question and answer period with religious leaders and community leaders in Las Vegas, we could do a national thing to put a very good light on Las Vegas.
And the idea being to televise this, including the documentary.
Correct. And that could be done here in Las Vegas with the blessings and the financial help of the Las Vegas Visitors and Convention Bureau. And that's where I was today, talking to them about that. And then we'll move forward talking about the dollars that it takes to do that. Because it does take advertising, it does take social networking, and this would help the city, and they have plenty of finances to do that if they're in alignment with what we're doing, which I'm sure they are.
Why don't we take a minute and a half and look at the sizzle reel and then come back and talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Here's the sizzle reel that Pete has put together. We'll be right back.
Now must be our moment for action.
20th century becomes century of violence. Now this century, 21st century, should be century of dialogue in order to develop peaceful century. Our future is hopeful.
But I'm certainly suspicious of it because I know the problems of the world are the problems of the human spirit. The world can be changed, and that you must change too.
This song is called No Guns Allowed. Put Drake on the song and my daughter, shoot a video showing all of this violence with guns. It makes the awareness level go up to where people will start to say, he cares, so we should care.
That there is no enduring peace without justice.
So we're saying give peace a chance.
And welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. Terrific reel. Terrific
Well, thank
short
you.
reel, yeah. And it captures exactly what you're attempting to do here.
Well, it does. I mean, John Lennon says, give peace a chance,
Sure.
number one. And number two, there is no justice without peace,
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie says. We had the first one-day peace conference in the South Bay, which was great. Peace One Day originated about 12 years ago, and they went over to Afghanistan, and somehow the United Nations mandated this, and they were able to get radicals to stop shooting so the kids could get vaccinated. And so we did the first one-day peace conference, September the 21st, in Los Angeles, okay? And I want to do it here.
Okay.
But that piece was produced by Alex Hayes, and the creator.
Right.
He's the creator of this, and I helped produce it, so I'm the second producer on that. And then the 46-minute version is at www.winds, W-I-N-D-S, of freedom.org.
Okay.
And, we are looking for sponsorship and donors to go to our website and donate money as a tax write-off, and it's tax exempt, so that we can further what we're doing, because we
Sure.
have plenty of plans. Besides just putting this in the educational system, we're going to do a national educational type television show through the social networking, if you will, and also get a bus like the Lennons have, like Paul McCartney has,
Right.
to go around the nation and show these videos and whatnot at parks, recreational centers, and schools. And that's some of what we're going to do that, if you will.
So Alex is the initiator of the Winds of Freedom Foundation.
He is.
And what it says here, which is really interesting, a World Peace Initiative launched with symphonic multimedia presentations inspired and produced and so on in a quest to promote harmony and cooperation among nations. That's biting off a pretty big bite, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And, you got to have a positive attitude, number one. You have to fight the good battle of peace. Now, we've never had total peace. I understand that. And wars make money. But you know what? There's other ways to approach things now. If we have a nuclear war and look at the situation the way things are now, there won't be anything left. And what about our children and the future of our next generation?
Sure.
So we really need to get this implemented in the school system, number one. Number two, we really need to educate people through this documentary and through various communities showing this, and also having a Q&A, a panel to do that. Because once people realize more and are more accustomed to doing things, then they'll have a better understanding, because people are so, today in America especially, so focused on a one thing of getting a job,
Sure,
improving their situation, getting the bigger house, all that,
yeah.
they lose track of even who their neighbors are, if you will.
Sure.
And we need to get back to some basics. True, technology has moved forward, and technology is good, like the cell phones, but we also need to have a balance in life. Everything's about a balance so that we can have a more harmonious society worldwide.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about all the competition there is for our attention, and with everything that's going on in the world, with the really the massive amount of information that we need to absorb each and every day, are we too distracted in order to be able to find this kind of a path to peace? Is there too many distractions going on today, Pete? What do you think?
I'll tell you what. When people have a disaster, they come together as a unity.
We saw that here in Las Vegas with the shooting. Yeah.
Big and strong.
Yeah.
And they'll come together in unity again. But as I said, as a Christian, you need Christian friends to keep you on track because of temptations. When people are aware and have Christ in their hearts, they're going to be more compassionate towards each other. And that's what we need to work on. So the answer to that question is, when you make people aware of this and they see what the real values of life is about and family values, society will begin to change. Even if they don't have Jesus Christ in their heart and God in their heart, society still will change. But the real situation is for everybody to have the love of Christ in their heart.
Yeah. And
And
if
be
we
a good
saw that,
disciple.
it would just absolutely change the world.
And that's what Bel Air is doing. And by the way, we'll talk a little later about this new series that we have called the Elvis, Trump, and What's His Name Show. It's a comedy. It's something to talk about.
I've seen it on your Facebook. We'll be back with Pete Allman, who is an entertaining guy, right after this. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you.
A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you. Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson, with a terrific guest, Pete Allman, formerly of Las Vegas, now of Los Angeles. He's here quite a bit, and he's an entertainer. He's a world peace advocate. He's a film producer. He's a Renaissance man. Let's talk about producing movies. I think our viewers would be interested in what goes into making a feature film. You have experience with this, with documentaries and also with pieces of fiction as well. Tell us about what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, first, when you have a script, and that script should be copyrighted, but even though it's copyrighted and it's with the Writers Guild and you have non-disclosures, the studios have taken ideas and changed them around. That script then has to have some stars in it. And those stars give you letters of what we call interest. And together with the letters of interest and the budget and scheduling is how you go to investors to get your money to produce that film. Now, I learned the hard way. I produced films for Damien Chapa. And those films that I produced were not big budget films.
Right.
So I had to cut corners, but not quality, to be able to do that.
Sure, sure.
And there's a lot of waste in filmmaking, I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, these huge, multi, $100 million movies. You wonder how they can spend all that dough. It's amazing.
Some of it goes to the stars, depending on who they are.
Right.
But I will say this: when you have that money together, and you have your stars together, and you shoot, you can get a lot of money back depending on where you shoot, like Canada, Mexico, Louisiana. And I'm shooting in Rosarito Beach a new film called The Beautiful Game, A Beautiful Season. And it's about soccer, and it's about kids that are down and out.
Right.
That this coach takes them, and it's more than I'm telling you, but basically he takes those kids and he makes them into soccer champions. And it has family orientation, and it's not a total faith-based film, but it's a film that'll go worldwide. And Cy Richardson will be directing that film. And, when you do a film, you need a script supervisor. You need a good videographer.
Sure.
You need a good sound man. You need gaffers.
Right.
You can take your cameraman, and if you have a big budget, you can have 4 cameras and make it much faster. And you can each day download your stuff to edit it to make it faster to put the film together, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And like the films we did, there was not a big budget to promote it through the major studios. They were DVD releases and were Walmart's.
Mm-hmm.
The Las Vegas, or I should say the, what was that called? Not Killer Priest, that was one I did about the one world government.
Right.
Where I was a bad guy too in the film, because I've been in some of the films. And the one is Vatos Locos, the drug cartel between the Asians and the Mexicans, and a drug deal gone bad. And I was, my legs were cut off in that one. I was a bad cop on the take.
Oh, right.
But you can produce movies for 20, 30,000.
Really?
Yeah. But, it's really tough, and you really have to steal a lot of shots.
Right.
Where you don't pay for permits and things of that nature.
Right.
But we don't have a lot of time to go into all of that stuff, because I wanted to cover some other things. But that's basically the idea. And anybody that wants to get into film out there, obviously the experience is the best teacher. But getting your degree from UCLA or USC is a very good idea in California to do those things.
Yeah. Let's go back to the project. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about the fun thing you're working on.
Well, there's a series that I was in. It's called the Elvis, Trump, and What's His Name Show. And I have a picture of it with me. And it's a series, and President Trump leaves the White House incognito, and Elvis shows him around Hollywood. And in doing so, Mr. Trump decides to pick up this homeless guy, called What's His Name, and they get a tour of Hollywood, and a lot of things happen. And just one incident is where they go to a movie theater, and the girl sees President Trump coming, and instead of $4, it ends up being $1,400 for a ticket. And Trump tells Elvis, "I'm going to fire you. You're fired if you don't do this to get this right." So it's a comedy, and it's being presented to Netflix and other venues, and you can see the pilot at www.elvistrumpwhatshisname.com.
Okay, that's good.
www.elvistrumpwhatshisname.com or Elvis.
That sounds
Trump
like fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah,
it really
thank you.
Yeah.
But I have to say this for people that are not Christians, or that are looking at this show, that are thinking about, what's my life going to be like, and how can I have God come into my life? And it's pretty simple. You just ask Him to come into your life, and by having faith is the substance of which you can't see, but having that faith creates miracles. I'm telling you, because I gave you an example of what happened in my life.
Yeah, that's interesting, and you have a wide variety of interests, but anchoring it all is that faith.
That's right.
That's really important.
That's right.
Isn't it?
So this concept of the winds of freedom and the documentary and the panel of educating people and having a bus go to neighborhoods throughout the country and show those videos is a very important mission to educate not just people in general, but for our younger generation, so that they have a better understanding of the times that we're in are very dangerous now. And those people that are radicals, those people that have been brainwashed since they were kids, wherever they are, and certainly overseas, it's very hard to change those minds because they feel that by being a martyr, by destroying anything that's not of them, whether it's be America or over in Europe, that they'll go to heaven and have 72 virgins. Well, they're really missing the boat. We have to keep those people out of this country. So we have to have strict regulations, and that is what President Trump is doing, and that's what I'm for, because how do you know who's going to college or what that person is that's been brainwashed? And now I want people to know that the way they're recruiting these people is through the internet. And Alex was at Atlanta, Georgia, and in Atlanta, Georgia, they had the International Rotaries Club convention.
Okay.
And at that convention was the CIA. The CIA showed a video of how the Taliban and whatnot are recruiting people through the internet to take,
Amazing.
to steal a bus, steal a truck, and run people over. Any way they can do it that's simple besides making a bomb. And these are things that we have to be aware of, and we have to pray about, and we have to protect ourselves.
It says something about the need, particularly that young people have, for something to believe in. And if they can be radicalized into this craziness, you know, into the idea that killing someone is going to earn you eternal life, what are we doing wrong when it comes to talking to young people, convincing young people, bringing young people to Christ, bringing this, you know, global peace initiative to the schools? What are we doing wrong that they can be radicalized by this stuff?
One of the very important things that we have to look at, Dale, is the fact that it starts at home.
Yeah.
It starts how parents are raising their children. If you're a parent that's on drugs, if you're a parent that hit your wife,
Right.
your children are going to observe that and do what you did.
Sure.
In many cases. And so it means a good family life and good family values. We've lost that in America, for sure. And we need to bring that back into context. Even though both people have to work, meaning the husband and wife,
Sure.
there's always time to work with your children and to let them know by teaching them good family values and by putting Christ first in your life.
Yeah, and what more important job does a parent have than that?
That's right.
You know.
As I said, education is a very important thing to educate these kids. We don't pray in school anymore. At 70 years old, I'm still going to college.
Sure.
And these children, you know, I say students, children,
Yeah.
they have the phones. Even in class, they're using their phones because Facebook was created to take people's time. Now we have to realize it and say, look, I'm going to work out. I'm not going to take my phone with me. I'm not going to let my phone control me. I'm not going to let that phone control me. I'm going to use it to the best of my ability for technology, but I'm not going to let it control me. And I'm going to take time to diffuse my anger, diffuse my frustration through meditation, through yoga, through nature walks. Look at the flowers. Let them uplift your spirit. But most importantly, have God in the center of your life. And you will see that things will be much different.
So important. And speaking of time, we're running out. We'll be back with Pete Allman right after this.
A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you. Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. We're very pleased to have with us Pete Allman, who is a fascinating man, which I know you've noticed in the last 3 segments of our show. Pete, you had a very famous friend. Tell us a little bit about that gentleman.
That gentleman was James Brown, the Godfather of Soul. Wow, I feel good. Ow!
Yes.
James Brown, I met him when he came out of prison.
Right.
And he was entertaining at the Bally's at the time. And something brought us together, and he was my brother.
Yeah.
And James Brown used to fly me to Augusta. I was on a station, reporting on a station on 97.5, The Boss at the time, and
right.
KDWN here in Las Vegas.
Right.
And he got me reading the Bible. He
Is
got
that
me
right?
reading Psalms.
Wow.
And those interviews are on the internet, James Brown and Pete Allman. But he was a wonderful man. He had a lot of demons around him.
Yeah.
But inside, he always had people have respect for one another. Mr. Allman, Mr. Brown, and he, when he was Bally's Hotel, I remember one time he wanted me to interview Magic Johnson, and YouTube was waiting. We waited an hour for him to get ready after the show.
Yeah.
And, I ended up interviewing F. Lee Bailey with Mr. Brown and people like that. It was great. It was great. And he used to fly me down to Augusta to his parties, and it was a wonderful time. He married a girl. The last girl was Tommy Ray, who lives in Las Vegas here and has a son by him. And there was a lot of conflict in his organization, but he did so much to educate young people with computer programs across the country.
Right.
And he gave African Americans hope. A long, long, long time ago, he even helped with the Watts riots with music, to soothe the soul. And he did many, many great things that people don't think about.
Yeah.
And when Mick Jagger, who was influenced by James Brown, put that movie together, that was very interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
It was the James Brown story.
He was a fascinating guy. My wife and I were at breakfast. This is one of the wonderful things about living in Las Vegas. At Blueberry Hill Restaurant here in town, and a James Brown song came on because they're always playing music in there, and so we started talking about James Brown, and I was a fan for many, many years. And the next table over, there were 3 gentlemen who had worked for James Brown, were family friends with James Brown, and one said he almost had to walk James Brown's daughter down the aisle at her wedding because he was running late at whatever city he was in. But he showed up on time. He ended up showing up on time.
Oh, great.
So it's it's funny that way. And he was really an icon for everyone in America, but certainly to young African Americans. I remember in the 60s watching a young boy who came up to me. This was in 67 or 8, and my sister was at the Cincinnati Conservatory learning her flute at the time. And this young guy who was maybe 10 or 12 years old said, "Would you like to see James Brown's entire act?" I said, "Sure." He did an hour in front of me, and he had all the moves, and he had the songs, and he had everything, saying, what an influence this guy had on his community in particular.
He certainly was.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Global Peace Initiative and some of the hurdles that you think you anticipate might happen. I'm particularly interested in the schools, and trying to get this into the schools. Are you going to run into difficulties there politically in trying to get this message out?
Well, we certainly need help in doing that.
Yeah.
Because you just don't go to one person. Each school, you have to go to the dean. The president really doesn't do anything, and then the dean has to look at it to have that documentary shown as a class, where people watch it and then they report on it, to see how they obtain the information and what it means to them, so as an educational tool. But it's a very big undertaking, and at windsoffreedom.org, and by the way, that's www.windsoffreedom, FREEDOM.org. And that's where you'll see the 2-minute sizzle reel and the full 46-minute documentary. To do that, it takes a lot of people.
Sure.
And it takes a staff.
It's an organization.
And all nonprofits have staffs, and we certainly need to expand upon that. Right now it's 2 people doing all the work, and it's really, really tough. So yes, we're going to need help, and yes, there are politics involved, bureaucracy. It certainly exists in the educational system, definitely in Los Angeles, definitely. And it's a shame that we don't have prayers in school anymore, that you're not allowed to do a prayer. But
or the 10 Commandments, which used to be in every classroom. I recall that.
Yeah.
And a morning prayer,
But I really do believe that there's a way to do this, and that it will make a big impact, not just in Los Angeles, but throughout the United States once we implement that, and at the same time throughout the world.
You mentioned celebrities and making movies and getting letters of interest and that sort of thing. Celebrities are going to be needed in this as well.
Well, I already have 2, and there'll be others too. Obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio was at the United Nations, and Angelina Jolie and the Dalai Lama. We'll probably have the Dalai Lama. I will probably have a spokesperson. I'm not sure who the celebrity will be yet. There's a lot of celebrities to look at, and to take the time to do that as a spokesperson for the windsoffreedom.org. And this documentary of 46 minutes, I'll probably put some very important people within that documentary, but it's all self-explanatory through the voiceover and through the graphics to really educate people. And you'll see that when you look at it there. I want to mention once more, again, if you want to see that documentary and if you want to come in line with us in what we're doing to educate people, and certainly we don't need a nuclear war, that's for sure. Go to www.winds, W-I-N-D-S, freedom, FREEDOM.org, and watch the documentary. And email me at celebrity scene, SCENE, newsdesk@gmail.com. And I'll be glad to answer and talk with you, and let's work together in doing something that's going to be good for society, something that's going to help our children, and something that's going to bring America and the world together in harmony as a harmonious factor. That's very, very important, because we are in very dangerous times right now. And as Donald would say, President Trump, Rocket Man is a very dangerous guy.
Yeah, he is. That's scary, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Let's talk about Celebrity Scene. Are you still doing your reports?
Occasionally I go out and interview celebrities. I've interviewed over 40,000 of them.
Wow.
In my 70 years, if you will. And there's been a lot of great interviews. And one of my greatest interviews that I've always enjoyed is an interview with Anthony Quinn.
Yeah.
It was a very dynamic, a very deep individual person that I really enjoyed. Besides sports, I always covered a lot of sports like Mayweather and Tyson and Mike Tyson and things like that. It's an interesting world when, a lot of celebrities, when I ask them, about, how do you overcome your obstacles, some of them say family values, some of them will talk about, being positive. Majority of them will talk about God, especially African Americans will, give credit to God for being part of their life, because we all have to deal with obstacles in our life. We all have to deal with stress in our lives. And as I said before, there's a way to diffuse things. And if you exercise and you do it properly, and if you go on nature walks or meditate or do yoga, all these things help you diffuse your frustrations, diffuse your anger. And that in combination with having a relationship with God and having Jesus Christ as your Savior makes all the difference in the world for you to feel like, hey, I'm here, I have a purpose in life, and it's not just about making money, it's not just about getting power, but it's about being humble, it's about being compassionate, it's about being understanding, it's about caring about the other individual.
That's a wonderful way to wrap things up. Pete, it's been an honor. It's been an honor to have you on the program. Once again, it is www.windsoffreedom.org, and we'll put your telephone number up as well.
Oh, please do. 702-265-9099. And I always say, keep your visions positive. Keep positive people around you.
Oh, that makes all the difference.
And know that God is with you. He's with you, He's with me, He's with Dale, He's with all of us. Believe me, He is with us. He absolutely is.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for watching Las Vegas Tonight. And as I say at the conclusion of every program, and Pete reiterated it, please walk with Him. God bless you. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Las Vegas Tonight. Allow me to take just a few moments to let you know how you can learn more about some of the fascinating guests that I've interviewed. My new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, is now available around the world. In it, I profile amazing people who make Las Vegas something much more than just a place to party. These compelling stories often tell of people who came to Las Vegas for reasons much different than the innovative ministries they ended up leading right here in Sin City. Take, for example, Tommy Scott, known as Hitman to his fellow members of an infamous gang in South Central Los Angeles. Tommy was serving time in a Las Vegas jail and contemplating suicide when a couple of pastors visited him in the lockup and led him to Christ. Tommy immediately began studying the Word and has become an on-fire evangelist and Christian author. Then there's Annie Meadows. Annie began life in a rural part of Kentucky, increasingly was fascinated with the occult, and eventually became a full-fledged witch. Rejecting anything having to do with God, she angrily vowed never to attend church or have anything at all to do with religion. Then, like Tommy, she had an encounter with the living Christ and now travels the world as a gospel singer and writes Christian children's books. Pastor Chris Chappell was an avowed atheist who also wanted nothing to do with the Lord. He was a successful businessman who felt he surely didn't need Jesus. His wife and father-in-law convinced him to attend church, and he felt a stirring that made him investigate the Bible's claims. Telling the Lord that he needed answers to his objections, he found those answers in a supernatural way and is now leading a remarkable church, Casa de Luz, in what's called the Naked City, which is a neighborhood just off the famous Las Vegas Strip. This formerly crime-ridden area is now experiencing a remarkable turnaround, and his church is serving that community in amazing ways. Doc Jones traveled to Las Vegas from New York on a personal mission to make as much money as he could. A born entrepreneur, he started a photography business that specialized in taking pictures of groups of partiers at the hot nightclubs on the Strip. He then learned that by referring young guys to the city strip clubs, he could pick up lots of cash from the club's owners. That evolved into sending young women who were wannabe strippers to these so-called gentlemen's clubs, and then he managed their careers. Eventually, he felt so empty and despondent that he too thought seriously of suicide. Hearing a sermon about the prodigal son caused him to dedicate his life to Christ. Now an exceptional musician and composer of gospel rap, hip-hop, and spoken word genres, he is helping change Las Vegas from a place where sin abounds to a city where grace abounds more. Pastor Clegg Seth was an aspiring actor and screenwriter in Hollywood and a strong Christian who wanted to make a real difference for Christ in the entertainment world. But the Lord called him to establish a crisis hotline for runaway teens who were coming to Hollywood to pursue their silver screen dreams. He then started halfway houses for men and women with substance abuse and other problems. He also helped set up a similar men's home in Las Vegas. At one point, he developed a gambling habit, but the Lord delivered him from that problem, and he now devotes his life to sharing Christ with men in prison, serving seniors in a church setting, along with visits to nursing homes and hospitals. He has continued his quest to influence Hollywood through a ministry called the Christian Studio. I personally really look up to Clegg Seth as a model of how a Christian should live and serve others. He truly is one of the Vegas saints. Read these stories and more in this 226-page book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You can get your copy in several different ways. Go to my website, vegassaints.org, or order it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's just $15.99 plus shipping. For more information or to make a donation to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries that will help us keep this program on the air, please call 702-480-3989. Or you can write to us at Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. And thank you so much for watching Las Vegas Tonight.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue.
Welcome to social media shows. Have you been watching social media shows recently? Of course you have. We have been live streaming for 4 years across social media platforms. We produce over 70 shows with over 1,000 episodes. In the process, we've helped over 100 creators realize their dreams and start their own show. We give platforms to promote your business. If you are an artist, if you have an event, if you are entrepreneurs, or if you have a story. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and subscribe and follow us on major social media platforms. And if you have a great idea of a show, join us. Social media shows can help you produce and live stream your own show. Let us help you make your dream become a reality.
Hello, everyone. This is Joseph Skoda with Social Media Shows. Well, I thank all of you for your support through these last several years, and it's been a lot of fun. We've given people a voice they never had before. Now, Social Media Shows is always collaborating with our veterans to help them do things and help out the veterans who are struggling today. And we teamed up with GI Connections, connecting veterans with resources. So please consider helping and donating to this great cause because we're always doing things for veterans. So GI Connections, social media shows, and you is what makes the world a better place. Once again, Joseph Skoda, proud United States Air Force veteran.
Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers,